and welcome to our late summer edition of Firebird Nation Sports Update. I'm your host, Eric Zedalis. On today's show, I interview 6th-year head men's soccer coach Matt Thompson, assistant men's soccer coach Danny Wadeson, and newly hired men's lacrosse head coach Rodger Colbert. First up is my interview with Coach Thompson, where we find out what's in store for this fall soccer season with the Firebirds. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's talk briefly about last season. You guys finished 5-11-1 overall with an East Coast Conference mark of 3-7. That record, by all accounts, though, is quite deceiving, given so many of your games were so competitive. Not to mention a 2-1 double overtime loss to the number 18 nationally ranked LIU Post Pioneers in late September. Was last year just a case of luck not being on your side?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but like I said, we don't really want to make excuses. We did have a couple of key injuries, particularly in that LIU Post game, and we were winning that game with about a minute left, I think, and they equalised, and we lost in overtime. So we had a few games like that throughout the season. I still think we were competitive, even though we had a couple of injuries, but no excuses. We could have, should have maybe done a little bit better last year.
All right, the talent was certainly there.
For sure.
Okay. I count 12 guys on your roster returning from last year's squad and several newcomers. Among your returning players are a third-team All-ACC honoree. That's defender Victor Salinas-Fiorio. Yep. And you've got a veteran upperclassman defender in Liam Haycock.
Yep.
These two on your back line, do you figure defense will be a major catalyst to your success this year?
Oh, we hope so. Victor is now our captain, moving on from last year, so he's definitely got a voice back there that'll keep us strong. Liam will probably actually move up into midfield.
Okay.
I think we've got a couple of new players coming in that will help us at the back for sure. Eva is coming back in goal, and also João, a goalkeeper from Brazil, so there'll be some competition for places. I think that's our strongest point right now coming out of pre-season is the competition for places.
Okay. You mentioned the goalkeeper position. You graduated one of the school's all-time greats in Lewis Connor. Who do you think will replace him this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're just finishing up pre-season, and both goalkeepers are neck and neck. They've both got strengths and some weaknesses that they can improve on, but right now, it's a toss of a coin. They're both doing extremely well.
So it could be a goalkeeper by committee?
It could be.
Okay. Offensively, 3 of your best goal scorers are back from last year. That's Mehdi Badachi, Kevin Ortez, and Aaron Noel. Over 20 goals among the 3 of them were scored last year. Do those 3 figure to play a prominent role in your offensive production?
I think so, but we've also got some new players coming in, and we've moved some things around, some players that maybe played a little bit more in midfield last year, maybe moving further forward, more attacking. So I think we've got a lot of talent. We've got a freshman coming in, Malik Tom. He's going to be a good presence. He's young, so he's going to need to learn and adapt to the physicality, but I think he's a great pickup. Kelvin Herrera, he's going to be really good this year. He's one of the injured players last year. He's going to come back. He's fully fit and fighting, ready to play. So I think
he's a midfielder.
He was a midfielder last year. We're moving him a little bit further forward. So I think we're going to be exciting going forward. Also, the other Brazilian boy that we brought in, Gabriel Torres, another attacking threat. So we're really excited moving forward.
Okay. You played 1 scrimmage so far. You defeated Marymount University 2-0, and I understand it was a driving rainstorm that day.
Yeah.
Tell us what you saw in that scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, pre-season's pre-season. It is what it is. It's a chance for players to get out there and play against somebody different other than themselves in training. So it was a good training game. Marymount were a good opposition. I think they had only had a couple of days training, whereas we had almost a week. So our fitness really shone through during that game. But we were able to play some players in a few different positions and see some different matchups and pairings that we're kind of looking at moving forward. So it was more for their match fitness, more to see players playing together rather than result orientated.
Okay. You'll host a season opening tournament over Labor Day weekend. First take on Holy Family and then American International. What can we expect from those 2 opponents?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We're playing at Germantown, which is a great soccer complex, great fields. So I just think you're going to see some great soccer that weekend. We hope to come out guns firing, but who knows? It's different when you're playing in pre-season and you step into those games. But I know physically we'll be ready. We've had a really good pre-season, 2 a days. So physically we'll be ready. Whereas last year I think that's why we had a couple of injuries. Our preseason wasn't so great. So that's why we're excited moving forward. Those first 2 games are going to be tough. Holy Family's usually good, and AIC, actually one of my former players that I coached down at Leeds McRae is now the head coach there, Luke Perry. So that's going to be exciting to play against him, and I'm sure he'll want to put one over on his old coach.
And moving forward, as you get into ECC play, what are going to be some of the challenges there?
Obviously, you got LIU Post and New York Tech are usually fighting for that top spot. But every team in that conference is very good, and it's a game every single time you step on the field against any ECC opponent. There's not an easy game. So, again, it comes down to being consistent. The team that's going to be most consistent will be up there and fighting for that top spot. Our goal, as always, is to make the playoffs. Right. We've just failed on a couple of occasions to make the playoffs. That's the top 4 in the conference. And this year, we really hope to try and make a push to make it in that top 4.
Right. You've been very close the last 2 years, and what do you think is going to be the thing that gets you over the top and into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think returning players, and we have some transfer guys that have come in as new players, so we have maybe an older squad overall. So I think that experience will definitely help us moving forward.
Okay. Administratively now, you've got, your team does very well with community service. Yeah. Can you tell me about some of the community service ventures you've done throughout the years?
Yeah, so almost every year we reach out and we help out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we hand out T-shirts, we help people check in basically.
It's just marathon.
The marathon,
right.
Yeah. So we basically, that's at RFK or the area around there. And that's good for us to get out there. We wear our soccer stuff and people know that we're there volunteering. But it's a good one for the guys, they enjoy that. Right. And then we have, we work at Keene, which is for disadvantaged children. Mm-hmm. And we go in there and we play soccer with them, basically any ball sports. There's a bowling thing in there. It's in a gym, and we pair up the players with a student, and they'll help them out and play some games with them. Most recently, we helped out on campus here, laying mulch and weeding and all that kind of things for the urban sustainability.
Right, causes.
There yes. You go. So we helped out here on campus as well. So we like to kind of go a little bit further afield, so we show ourselves in DC and also in our local UDC area.
And the kids seem to enjoy that.
They love it. They may put a face to start, but they enjoy it. It's good to get together. Anything they do as a team, it's camaraderie. It's making memories, and we make it fun.
That's great. I wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Next is my fascinating conversation with assistant men's soccer coach Danny Wadeson. Danny ran the Ironman UK in Bolton, England this past July, and among other things, we talked about how he trained, what it was like competing, and how it felt to finish. All right, welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my first question is, it's an obvious one. Why did you want to do this race?
Few reasons. Initially, I've got a 95-year-old grandma who used to watch me run when I was 8, and she's getting on a little bit, so I wanted to get over and sort of put a good memory between us. So the interest to go back to my hometown and get it done and hopefully put her in a good place.
So the race was in your hometown?
Race was in my hometown. It was the Ironman UK, so there was obviously emotionally a chance to go home and see family and then go and execute.
So you've always been a runner then?
Footballer. Always been a footballer. The running was along the side, so as a kid, your PE teacher always wants you to run alongside your soccer. So any sport you need running. So yeah, the running was a key component.
And what about the swimming and the bike riding?
Swimming, I'd never swam those distances before. When I initially started on the project, that was the biggest fear. As I worked through it, that became the most enjoyable part.
Did it now?
Yeah.
And how far was the swim?
Swim was 2.4 miles.
Okay. And what was the most you had ever swum before?
0.9.
Okay. So how did you train for that, to build up to that?
I was fortunate I had the facility at UDC, which was excellent. I trained pretty much on my own. I got a couple of tips off friends, but I like the idea of training in solace and just sort of going at it old school. So it was just me in a pool and just go get on with it.
Did Lauren Fuchs, our aquatics director, have any tips?
Yeah,
for you?
Lauren gave little bits of guidance. Some of my former players had been swimmers. Obviously over here there's more interest in swimming, so they would give me little tips. And then I had a brother-in-law who's quite into it, so he would just show little things as well. So yeah, it was good to get it from a bank of people.
And so the race itself was in July.
Correct.
When did you start your training?
Great question. I actually only started 20 weeks out. What I'd done was from the Christmas, I'd made the decision around October, November. Obviously with the college season, the soccer season, demands meant that I wouldn't be able to train prior. Made a sort of commitment from December on, calmed down from a socializing aspect. And then once the 20 weeks commenced, I'd started to build up gradually, but then it was just very much, this is what it is and let's go get it.
Is that a normal time frame?
No.
No.
When I got to the race, there's people who've been training for years, there's people who've been training at least 12 months out. So I'd already sort of put myself behind the 8 ball, but Chase Brugman, who was a strength and conditioning guy here, he trains a high-end triathlete, and she gave me a 20-week plan, and it was just go get it.
Tell us what was involved in that 20-week plan.
What they basically do is they build you up to an interval, and then every 5 weeks within the plan for the first 15, you would slowly increase volume, and then you would drop from the previous week. And then from there, you would then look to kick on again. Ideally, they were looking at you to train 6 out of 7 days, sometimes 2 disciplines a day. And then having to fit that around your existing schedule meant there were certain times you couldn't, certain times you had to make up, and then you sort of personalize from what the framework is, what's going to best suit you each day you're working through it.
Right. And I understand you had a little bit of a hiccup where you had an injury mid-training.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, basically my own stupidity, if you want the truth, Eric. With the weather, we hadn't had a chance to bike for about 3 days. I chose my race bike. I got after it. My adrenaline got a bit too high because I love to cycle. I was going too fast. It was a slippery road. And then I sort of came off. I was locked in on the bike, but I came off. So I couldn't train for 2 weeks. The first week I went to see the doctor. They tried to see if it would heal. It wouldn't heal. The second week they put a gauze pad on, and the gauze pad actually sort of dried it out, and then obviously imparted chemicals to help things heal quicker. But I lost that in weeks 11 and week 12, which were pretty key. But like I say, if I'd have chose a better bike and been more patient, then things may have been worked out for the better. At the same time, I turned it into a positive. I was resting for 2 weeks, and then I was able to go again. The sort of burns that I have were, unfortunately, I couldn't run because of the motion. I couldn't swim because I couldn't go in the pool, and then I couldn't bike because it was still trying to heal. So it was literally 2 weeks of trying to do maybe a little bit of weights or trying to push myself in different directions. But hindsight's experience has now told me I'd have been a lot better being more methodical and getting more out of the 2 weeks, but that's life and you kick on.
Right. Now, at the actual event, you were most worried about the swimming going into it, and you said that was the easiest part.
Yeah.
How about the other?
It was, same again. It's you can't hide in sport, bottom line. You certainly can't hide over those distances. The bit that I found, you've obviously built up a certain level of stamina, endurance, and sort of mental strength. The swim, I felt great, but obviously that's the first of the 3. But things just went well, so I was maybe like 8 minutes ahead of schedule, which isn't pushing too hard, it's just you're in a good place, bottom line. The bike I then started to kick through, I did it at a regular time, and then the run I fell short from what my target was. At the same time, from reviewing it, I would now probably change my own training plan to maybe 60-20-20 as percentages, whereas when I was training, I was probably 40-30-30. So in hindsight, my running let me down.
I see. Now, is there like a sense of urgency when you're doing this because you know that you've trained so hard, you want to do so well? How do you combat that?
It's a game against yourself. It's really that simple. I was fortunate. Mr. Lang obviously had some good words of advice for me. Coach McKenzie helped me with little bits. There's clearly a psychological side to it. When you're out that long, your mind can wander, but sometimes you need it to get through. You sometimes you set yourself small goals within larger goals. You may see somebody you want to chase. You may just be reacting to your body or the temperature or
your surroundings,
yeah, or who's supporting you, where your hydration's at. So there's all these different components, and to be fair, there's always something going on. So how you keep yourself focused in the correct things is a great mental test over that period of time.
Okay. And how did it feel when you finished?
A bit of everything, actually. Relief, great to see your family together, great to see people taking the time out. You feel like you can keep going because you're just in a rhythm. So it's not like your legs are buckling and things at the end. Obviously, you're delighted to finish.
Right.
But you've sort of chugged at a rhythm all the way through. So once you get to that finish line, of course, you put a little sprint on like you're a 5-year-old because you're just relieved. But no, the reality was just more seeing my family's faces happy. And like I said, unfortunately, my grandma couldn't be there for the race, but when you set yourself a goal like this, if you set it towards somebody else, the intrinsic motivation comes through anyway. So yeah, I think just delighted I was healthy and done.
And then speaking of motivation now, the run was to benefit a very good cause.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the run, well, the whole event, Scope is a charity based in the UK. They help disabled children with sporting opportunities. And then basically I raised $1,500, which was then to put back. So same again, you're always paying forward because you're the one doing the race.
That's great. Well, thanks for being with us today, Danny.
Eric, not a problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The UDC Athletic Department announced the hiring of Rodger Colbert as the new head men's lacrosse coach earlier this summer. That program is coming off its best season yet with 4 wins last year, and Colbert was a big reason for that success as he's been the assistant coach for the past 2 years. I asked Coach Colbert how he looks to continue the upward trajectory the program is on right now. All right, Rodger, welcome to the show and congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
You were announced head coach here at the University of the District of Columbia earlier this summer. What was going through your mind when you got that news?
I was humbled and honored at the same time. I was humbled because I cherish, opportunities to lead within the lacrosse world. Honored because we have a handful of students that have been with us since the program's inception, and getting a chance to lead them in their last year here was definitely an honor. I'd say humbled and honored initially, then I was a bit ambivalent, just because of the challenges that are associated with running a lacrosse program at UDC. And I think now I'm probably motivated. That'll be the last part of it, motivated because of those challenges. So
sure. Is being a head coach something you've always wanted?
Yes, subconsciously. It wasn't until the last 2 years that I realized that I wanted to be a head coach on the collegiate level. I've been a head coach on the high school level and younger kids as well, but now this is my dream.
Right. You've been an assistant coach here since 2013, and I'm quoting Director of Athletics Patricia Thomas, instrumental in helping Scott Yorick build our men's lacrosse program.
Sure.
How will you look to continue the momentum the program has been building these last few years?
Well, I'm going to rely on the upperclassmen. The momentum has shifted a bit in that we're a lot younger. I mean, the majority of our players are freshmen or second-year players for the program. So there are only a handful of returners that are seniors, and we're going to rely on them to continue the momentum that Scott has started. But more importantly, we're going to rely on core values to dictate where it is we're going to go. And those core values of rigor, courage, discipline, and commitment, I'm hoping to instill in our young players, and hoping to have the assistance of our older players to do that. So core values are what we'll implement this year, and hopefully it'll continue that momentum.
Sure. And now with a lot of young players, a coaching philosophy like yours which I'd like you to tell the viewers what that is, will go a long way. Can you explain that?
So it's more of an operating principle in how I live life, but it definitely is synonymous, and it works with my coaching style as well. And the operating principle is I'm willing to meet you wherever you are. Right, so I have an incoming family of freshmen down in Marietta, Georgia, a kid that I want to recruit. I think it's important to include the family in the entire process. I think it's important to learn who the young man is, the student athlete is, and an all-encompassing approach is what I tend to do. So how does that translate into the lacrosse world and lacrosse field? Well, our players will dictate everything that happens with us. I just sort of get to mold them and guide them in certain areas, but they'll dictate what happens with us.
Okay. Now, something that's interesting to me is we go from Scott York, the all-time leading goal scorer at Georgetown, an All-American, to Rodger Colbert, also an All-American, and one of the all-time great defensemen at Georgetown. Would you consider yourself more a defensive-minded coach? And if so, might we see a shift in mentality and or playing style in the Firebirds this coming year?
I am a defensive-minded coach. There is no doubt about that. I'm definitely more concerned with the defense. That doesn't necessarily mean that I won't have an offensive approach to win the game. I think, again, the players dictate our playing style, but our mentality will be shaped around those core values and how it's instilled during the fall. We'll pretty much use the fall as a time to focus on academics and community service and installation of everything. Not sure that I can say we didn't do that last year, but that is our primary focus. Ideally, we like to win the competition cup this year in honor that the girls lacrosse team has won the last 2 years. So in terms of mentality, that's our first meeting. That's exactly what I said. I want to win the competition cup for our school, and so I think they're on board with that. So that is the different mentality. Playing style, Eric. It'll be different. We lost our leading scorer from last year, so the ball probably will move a lot more, but they'll dictate what we do and how we do it on the field.
Okay, and just so the viewers know, the Competition Cup is a department-wide initiative that we do, and it's based on 3 criteria. That's academics, community service, and attendance at other teams' sporting events. So you touched on that, and I'd like to ask you a question about that as well. In addition to your coaching experience, you've also got extensive academic and administrative experience throughout your career. How will that experience serve you as head coach at UDC?
Well, the last academic experience that I've had was in graduate school, and it was a school of leadership and education. And essentially, that's the position I'm in right now. I'm in a leadership position within education. So all of that experience, academic and administrative, will help me manage people better. Not only my student athletes, but my assistant coach whenever he or she comes on board. So those things will help innately. I can't dictate how, but I've learned patience a lot more, and humility. Being able to listen before you talk is very important.
What about this place, University of the District of Columbia, intrigues you as a coach?
I think the diversification of the sport can be housed in a place like UDC. It's a historically black institution. Part of my lifelong goals is to diversify the sport. I think the UDC program has one of the most diverse teams. In fact, when I go on recruiting talks, one of the first things that prospective student athletes say is, your team's the most diverse team I've ever seen. And that's a credit to Coach Urick and what he's done, bringing the Canadians in from up top, and then sending us on journeys outside of DC to bring kids in. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like more DC youth that play lacrosse. I'd like to see them right here at the University of the District of Columbia if possible.
And how do you plan? How do you do that?
Well, that's just what I spoke about two questions ago, right? So it's getting the families involved, but letting them realize, or helping them realize that UDC is a viable option. There are a lot of stigmas attached with our institution from the past. Well, the people that are in place now and new leadership up top or on the other side of the campus, Patricia Chalmers in the athletic department, there are signs of this institution improving quite a bit, and I think the families need to see that. ultimately UDC is what you make of it, and that's what I tell my families. If you're focused and you're ready to go make something of your life, good things will happen here, specifically with the support of the coaches staff that we have.
I certainly agree with that. Now, the regular season doesn't start until March.
Sure.
This October you have planned a very intriguing scrimmage matchup with Hampton University. Can you tell us about that?
Well, absolutely. Coach Carter and I met this summer, and you know, it was a match right away. I've been looking to meet with him for a year or two because we have the same focus and the same goals in the lacrosse world. So we're going to go down to Hampton hopefully, and we're going to have a practice and a scrimmage, so to speak. Whereas, we let all of our boys interact, see what that's like, and it'd be something different. It's rare to have two programs at historically black institutions that play lacrosse, and so to bring them together and to show them that we're working in solidarity, I think it's important for the entire sport to see on every level. So we're going to go down there, and Coach Carter and I, we're going to get the boys, and we're going to go at it.
All right.
Nice.
Well, I wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
That's all the time we have for this episode. A big congratulations to assistant men's soccer coach Danny Wadeson for his tremendous feat conquering the Ironman competition. And we wish the best of luck to Coach Thompson's men's soccer team this fall, as well as Coach Colbert and his men's lacrosse program moving forward. Be sure to check out all the Firebird action on our website, udcfirebirds.com, and our social media accounts on Facebook, UDC Athletics, Twitter and Instagram at UDC Athletics, and YouTube, UDC Athletics 1. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.